Anilji, I welcome you to the show, The Influencer Talks. So, as the name suggests, we are now with you for your inputs on a lot of issues which concerns your industry and economy as a whole. The first question to you would be that the latest reports on GDP, which is issued by the National Statistics Office, says that the overall contraction in the GDP will be around 10% this fiscal, which was about 23% between April and June. So how do you think the Indian economy is headed in near future, considering the current COVID-19 problem?
Uh, Thank you, Atul, sir. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here. Atul, sir, there's a correlation between the GDP
Right.
and the stock market. And if you see the stock market today, what it's showing is exactly the question you have asked.
Okay.
If you see the stock market, people are surprised and they're questioning that where the stock market has gone up by about 25%.
Right.
GDP is down by about 23% in the quarter.
Right.
So they're saying, how is it that they are both working in different directions? Actually, the stock market factors the future.
Right.
And the future they are factoring is that the market, which has gone up now by about 3,000-4,000 points, is showing exactly that the GDP would be about -10. That's what the market is factoring.
Okay. Okay.
So it's almost, getting to the number you have said.
Yeah.
So that's one part of it. So the largely the country and the experts feel that the growth would be -10 based on the stock market.
Okay.
Coming down to a specific question of GDP, again, I think there is a fallacy when we say a sweeping statement, whether -23 or -10. What we need to do is at one level, it's fantastic. It's going up from -23 to 10, so it's in the right direction. I think what needs to be done is very difficult, and there is a fallacy in studying it as a collective number. You need to break down. And let me give you two examples of the quarter that has gone by where you had a -23% growth.
Right.
One element which was positive was agriculture, which was positive despite the -23% GDP.
Right.
And there was a negative number of -50, which was of construction. Now, if you were to ask in a general way, one would say that's positive. So agriculture has done well, construction has done badly.
Right.
Actually, it's the reverse of it. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's the reverse because agriculture with the good monsoon and all of it should have done much better than the 3% growth it has done.
Okay.
Agriculture has not been largely affected by the pandemic.
Right.
So actually the agriculture growth where everyone is tom-tomming is actually a bad news for us because that should have been more like a 8-9%.
Okay. Okay.
Whereas construction, which is -50, is a great news because despite the fact that there was a complete lockdown from April to June, if the GDP is -50, which means 50% growth kahin hua.
Right.
It's come halfway down. It should have come much bigger. It should have been -100.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the reason is that means there has been a large construction activity in the rural sector because in the urban, it was a complete ban. It was a complete lockout.
Right.
So, once you start to digress, and mining, for example, mining is the worst, -30 something. Now, that's bad news because mining should not have been that much impacted by the pandemic.
Because that is primarily in the rural area.
Urban, rural, or rural. So one thing you have asked clearly, -10 is what the market is factoring, which is great news, which means economic activity is largely picking up fast.
All right.
Including our sector, which is aviation.
Right.
But once you analyze, you find completely, surprises.
Yeah. It's just other way around what generally people think.
Yes.
Yes. That way.
Because we talk as one number, whereas we should actually start breaking up and seeing what is right and what is wrong.
Individually, each sector, actually. It should be that way.
Each sector, sir. Each
That's
sector.
Great. Right. Okay. Anilji, over the last 4 years, in aviation industry has been, I think, the best growth in the last 4 years, which was about roughly 18% annually. But all of a sudden, due to this pandemic, it has drastically come down, and there are a lot of entire aircraft fleet which is grounded. There is a joblessness. There is completely salary cuts and whatnot. So actually, where do we stand as of today when we are in the fourth phase of unlocking? And how do you see in next couple of months coming?
So Atul sir, first to answer the growth which has happened in the last few years.
Yeah.
So the formula for the aviation as a thumb rule,
yeah,
is that the growth in aviation and tourism is largely at about 2.2 of the country's GDP.
Okay.
For India.
Right, right.
Now, if you take a 0.2, you will get to a 1780 number, even if you take the growth at 6 to 7%, give or take, last 2-3 years. So that is how the aviation should be growing. And that is how it has grown in the last few years.
Right.
Unfortunately, with the pandemic, there was a complete lockdown.
Right.
And aviation and the industry was worst hit. Every aircraft was grounded effective March, since the Prime Minister made the statement, till 25th of May when the first plane started.
All right.
Now, from May till today, if I was to talk specifically of aviation, you have to divide it in two parts, the domestic aviation and international aviation.
Right.
There are other subsets like cargo and all of it, but largely these two.
Right.
So at one level, the domestic has been picking up quite rapidly, and the performance has been satisfactory. Okay. It could have been better than satisfactory had it not been for the regulations, ever-changing regulations of the state, and also the customer confidence or the passenger confidence. So currently when we talk, let me give you a number.
Yeah.
On an average, India flies, before pandemic, India domestic sector was about 5 lakh passengers every day.
Right.
All airlines put together. I'm talking about aviation.
Right.
That had come to zero, and today it is about 165, 170.
Okay.
So just crossing the one-third mark.
Part. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is not actually 1/3, because what has also happened that because of the ban on the international travel for various reasons, there has been a lot of charter activity.
Right.
Because charters are allowed for certain reasons. So the charter, a lot of planes have been deployed towards charter. And also the cargo activity has been very good, from the medication earlier during the pandemic to a lot of movement of goods in this period.
Right.
Because there was a lockdown, even the surface transport was facing problems at the border and all that, So it's been generally, I would say the business has come to overall about 45% level. Okay. Which is, if you look at from 100, it is a bad information. But if you look at from zero, it's a good start. Especially when the international is still very limited, largely to the Gulf, because and otherwise there are air bubble flights which are a bilateral between two countries.
Yeah.
Today we have signed with Japan, so some movement will start for Japan.
Okay.
It's currently with US, with UK, but Canada, for example, you can't go. Singapore, Thailand, which is one of the big tourism sectors for the Indians, it's completely banned, not allowed.
Right.
So international is bad news.
Yeah.
Domestic is picking up gradually but strongly.
Right.
And we hope that by October, we will come to about 60% of the domestic, which is 60% of 5 lakhs, which is about 3 lakh people a day, from 170 odd today. Right. So that is a good sign. And it has given some fuel to the depressed and completely grounded industry.
Right. Right.
So, it's a very heavy fixed cost industry. And currently there are challenges.
And with the kind of restrictions due to the pandemic, like social distancing or filling up only 2/3 of the seats, Is that expected to be continued for a longer period?
No, seats were never, though there was a lot of talk, there was never any check on it.
Right.
Because I think the High Courts and the Supreme Courts intervened and they came to the conclusion you don't need to keep an empty seat. So that was okay.
Yeah.
But that is not good enough because passenger also must feel good sitting in the middle seat.
Exactly.
So that was one part. And the second was the regulations, which were not only different for different states, but also they were changing all the time. Slowly they are being done away with. They are like the government, central government has said in the lockdown, unlockdown 3.
Yeah.
That one country and seamless movement, whether it is goods, whether it is people, we had restriction as individuals also, even by road.
Right.
We had to get a permit. So slowly the states are removing the regulations. It's not happening very quickly. For example, Calcutta city, there are still restrictions on the number of flights and various things. But the positive sign is it's improving by the day. Every day we hear some good news. And though the COVID cases are increasing, but it seems the government has decided that the aviation, they will keep opening up. And people are getting confidence because the load factors are in the range of 65 to 73, 74%, which is very good, which means people are traveling. Now, many are saying that a lot of it is still labor movement going back and forth and all of it. But I think people are getting slowly confident to start traveling domestically.
All right. That's great news.
International will take some time.
That will take some time. Okay.
Yeah, but air bubbles is helping because bilaterals are at least opening. That is a positive because it will keep the movement on. So and the positivity.
Right. So in near future, in next 1 month's time, which more countries we are going to have some air bubble kind of agreements?
Yeah, they're increasing. Like today morning only, there was news about Japan. And I expect that in the next 30 days, at least half a dozen countries will get added. So what happens is while international aviation is closed, but if you open with the top 20 countries, we are sorted out because end of the day, though there are 197 odd countries in the world, the real traffic is only with 10 or 15 countries.
Absolutely.
So if you make air bubble flights with them, you have largely sorted out the problem without calling it opening the sector.
So tell me one thing. Now, aviation has always been a big contributor to the GDP. And in the current situation, it's really, which is improving now slowly. But what are your expectations from Government of India, policy-wise, and the kind of stimulus what industry is expecting, and what exactly your expectations?
So clearly, one of the things everybody expected was some kind of a financial aid or financial support, which did not happen. Having said this, we all understand there are challenges with the government and government can do so much.
Right.
So the question comes, what next? What is your expectation? I think one big statement the Prime Minister made was that the flying sector is on a certain defined parameters because a lot of Indian airspace is closed for the passenger traffic because of the defense movement.
Right.
And the Prime Minister said that he will open that so that the flying time between 2 points reduces by 15 minutes to half an hour.
Right.
Now that is work in progress. Because that will be a significant saving because if you fly Delhi, Mumbai half an hour less, it not only helps the passengers, but also helps the fuel and the time and the ability to turn the aircraft.
Right.
Now what industry is expecting? Industry is clearly expecting support, one, in terms of the aviation tax, the tax on aviation fuel, what we call ATF, aviation turbine fuel. That is one. The other is there are charges like airport taxes and various things where they can put some kind of a stop period, so that it encourages flying. And the third thing we are expecting, or rather the industry expects, is that the airport support in terms of landing charges, parking charges, even if we were to get support on these 2 or 3 elements, that will go a long way in helping revive the aviation. The big challenge that the government has at the moment is they are waiting for things to stabilize and before they kind of look at it. But industry is falling short of cash, they're falling short of oxygen, and they want quick aid.
Right.
That's not coming. So there is some frustration in the industry. It is also to do with the whole industry, the tourism industry, which includes the hospitality and tourism and all of it. But I'm sure that some kind of support where a government could come out with some kind of a package like Singapore has done, like some other countries have done, which is they've given $100 to everybody to spend on domestic. Now, India doesn't have that kind of money, but India can find some way, give you some points or give you some advantage where people are encouraged to do some travel.
Right, right.
I think that is something that the government can do. That will also give more boost to, and also, Atul sir, the industry opening, the business opening is also good news, because that means more business travelers will fly. Because that is also right now under siege,
Absolutely. Now we have been talking about the pandemic time. Now let's talk aviation post-pandemic. Once things settle down, the airlines get back to used to the normal flying number of people. How do you see the aviation industry in short to mid-term in India between, say, 3 to 5 years?
I'll give you some statistics that will give you the idea of what industry can do. US today has about 6,200 aircrafts, scheduled aircrafts. Scheduled means I'm not talking private jets and all of that. China has about 5,000 aircraft.
Right.
India, in 2010, I'm going back 10 years. 10 years is lifetime in today's world.
Right, right.
In 10 years back, India had about 420 aircraft. Today, after 10 years, when the world has moved and you have talked about 17-18% growth, we have 600 aircraft. Can you believe it?
Okay, right.
And this will answer largely the question, what is in store for us? Right. I just talked about 5 lakh people fly every day in India domestically. In China, domestically, about 18 lakh people fly every day. In US, about 27 lakh people fly every single day. Our population is what it is. It's an aspirational young India.
Yes.
The young India who want to live like nomads, who don't want any baggage, they only want experiential. I grew up in a commoditized India, where every salary meant a new television for home, or a music system, or a telephone, or a camera. Today's children want only their mobile.
Absolutely.
So this India and the rural becoming rural urban, there is no limit to what India can do in aviation. And we are sitting on a gold mine, and we just need to harness it.
I agree with you, sir. We also keep on reading that this particular airlines has ordered 1,000 aircrafts, booked 700 aircrafts. But do we have the required infrastructure ready to handle these numbers?
Yeah, great question. All I will say on the infrastructure is yes, we have huge bottlenecks.
Right.
We have bottlenecks. So let me give you another statistic. 60% of the traffic between Delhi and Mumbai, 60% of India's traffic.
Yeah.
Now, both Delhi airport, which still has some flexibility to grow.
Yeah.
But Mumbai airport is completely choked. You don't even have slot for one additional plane for the last year and a half.
Right.
So your 60% traffic is traveling between points which is choked. We have limited airports.
Yeah.
But in the last few years, new airports have been opening almost at the pace of one airport a month.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now there are challenges with those airports. I would give you 100th airport was Sikkim, which opened a year and a half back. But it's giving you the opportunity, even if it's not gotten the structure for the big planes, At least the smaller planes, which are the 72-seater ATRs and Q400s, they can land.
Right.
So it's giving that fillip to the, and you'll be surprised, Atul sir, that, for example, if I was to give an example of IndiGo, they are flying to a few places that I also had not heard of. For example, one of the places I had not heard of was Rajamundry. I did not know Rajamundry. It's a very big trading town, but I had not heard. This way, every day we hear of new places they are flying.
Correct.
And that gives a lot of optimism, because if you are flying to places which are not heard of, which means a very positive news that you are increasing the traffic. Also, the traffic between metro and non-metro points. When I say Mumbai, and a non-metro would be anything outside the top 5 cities or 6 cities. That is increasing. Traffic between non-metro and non-metro is increasing. The good news is the Delhi, the new airport facility in
Dadri.
That's coming up fast. So the Bombay airport, the new airport is coming up, but now which has been taken over by Adani's from the GVK. All these things will take time. The new airport will take time. So on one side, it is a chicken and egg story.
Absolutely.
Do I wait for the airports to fly, or do I keep flying and airports will keep coming?
Will keep coming.
And we have learned in my tenure in the aviation industry that you focus on what you can do, and that puts pressure on the government to open quickly and open new airports.
But at the same time, I'll give an example. Hindon Airport base near Ghaziabad, that was opened, Hindon, and that was opened up for 2 or 3 destinations locally, and but somehow they didn't pick up. Ultimately, there were only 2 travelers, 2 flyers sitting in the aircraft, and it has to be closed down.
No, actually, it's to be honest, they have not opened up. They were more like the trial. We are very eager as IndiGo to get there. They have made the same airport. They made a private site, of the airport, but it's not opened as yet.
All right.
And if and when it opens, I can tell you that there will be a huge rush. We are very keen to fly to places like Meerut, to places like Ajmer, and stuff like that. Now that's 20 minutes flying, 15 minutes flying. But it's not really opened as yet. When it opens, it will do very well.
Okay, that's great. So now the other 2 sectors which are related, which is hospitality, and of course the other is tourism. Both are impacted. So how do you see, even after opening the aviation sector, I think there are many other factors which caters to these 2 sectors. So how do you see them coming up in next 6 to 12 months?
See, in terms of first I'll talk about the hotel sector, the hospitality sector. Again, if you see the way you asked Atul sir about the aircraft, and I said, we are sitting on a gold mine. Even the hotel industry needs about 180,000 additional rooms in the next few years. They are short on rooms. Now, currently with the pandemic, there is a whole concern, the passenger safety, there is a pressure, concern. So they are changing the protocols. It will take longer for them to come up at one level from the passenger perspective, because where you were traveling for, let's say, one night, you will prefer to go and come back in the same day.
Right.
Having said, they are having their own advantages. I will give you first, during the pandemic, when every aeroplane was grounded, aircraft was grounded, hotel industry still managed to, I would say, do a little bit better, because they had, sometimes it was used for the quarantine. Sometimes most of the hotels that we are in as InterGlobe, hotels were taken for the COVID warriors, be it doctor, be it police, be it defense, because these people were not going home. So they had taken space in the hotel. There was also a lot of international movement where charters were flying And people were asked to collect at a point like Delhi airport. So people used to come from all over and collect to Delhi and stay in a hotel. So during the pandemic, hotel industry still did something better than at least the aviation. Going forward, they'll have to change the protocol, less human connect. How do you bring more automation so that passenger feels, Atul sir has got an app, he's got loaded, he straight away goes to the room, shows the app and the door opens. So, this will require a lot of investment also.
True.
But I think hotel industry will take a little more time. It's already picking up. But people are, it's one step forward, one step back. You go out, like restaurants have opened, hotels have opened. People want to go out. It's very human to meet friends. But when you hear two COVID cases, everyone goes quiet for 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
They have a challenge, but I think it will take them a bit longer to revive. As far as the tourism is concerned, inbound tourism is not going to happen this year, because of advisory. So inbound means all the foreign travelers who are coming, which beats the industry big time, because it beats the hotel big time, and it beats the whole tourism sector, the taxis and then the infrastructure, the paraphernalia. That won't happen this year. I think at best, and the inbound tourism in India, majority happen in the winter months. Largely beginning the festivities, which is October onwards till March. Then it becomes very hot. There is traffic, but I would say 85% traffic is during this month. That period is gone, which really takes us to the 2021 October. So inbound is out. Outbound is currently partly regulated. So if I want to go today to a country, they will ask me whether I have a tourist visa, what visa I have got. First, I have my own security and safety. On top of it, I will be asked to follow certain regulations. And many countries will still say, we don't want you to come. Because for international travel, both points have to agree.
Absolutely.
So outbound is going to revive a little bit, but not much. That is why you keep hearing about domestic tourism now. They call pass tourism. Travel by car and drive around. Stay vacation, home vacation, this vacation, that vacation. I think people are frustrated sitting at home and they want to step out. And the good hotels are doing better because people feel by default good hotels have more protocols. So people are traveling. If you see bookings of some of the hotels in Jaipur and mountains, you'll find the tariff is very high and the hotels are full. Which means people are getting, wanting to step out. And they're saying, let me go with the family or the groups and take a hotel. So I think domestic tourism will pick up. I think it will do well also for the weddings, though weddings are small. Because Atul sir, all you need to do is to take a boutique hotel, let's say in Udaipur, a boutique hotel of 8-10 people, and a group of 8-10 families can go.
Absolutely.
Then you own the hotel. So, you also feel protected in a smaller circle. So I think there will be some uptake on the domestic tourism. International tourism, outbound is going to be few, inbound is zero. Hotels will take a longer time to come up. And airlines, of course, international will open through the air bubble route.
A very ambitious goal of our Prime Minister is Atmanirbhar Bharat. So how does aviation come into the picture?
So aviation, in the sense, if I was to just give one or two examples, all aircrafts today, the 600 aircrafts that I've talked about, which are owned by the airlines in India, have to go outside what we call the MRO, maintenance, repairs, overall. Most of the aircraft go outside India. Now that's something that can easily be done in India. And for every aircraft, Atul sir, you'll be surprised to hear when what we call the C&D checks, you spend up to $3 million per aircraft. $3 million per aircraft. You do it every 5-6 years, sixth year, but you still spend $3 million. And there are lower level checks where the planes have to fly out, and that is also a substantial amount. Now that is something that India can easily do. It's not that complex. So that is one step that country can save huge foreign exchange, generate employment, all the neighboring countries from Sri Lanka to Malaysia to everybody, they are all doing, and Indian planes go there. Why can't we do it in India? So that is one. The second is, we have to find ways to do, for example, the pilot training. Now, for example, our company has a pilot training school in Noida.
Right.
And, before that, a lot of people, now that's a high investment, high return game. Where every pilot who flies needs to go for a refresher every 6 months. It's mandatory because, of the flying regulations, what's changing, what's not changing.
Yeah.
What we call the pilot training, school or academy.
Yeah.
So I think that can be done in India where we don't have to waste foreign exchange. So just 2 or 3 small things. And same in the hotel industry. You can make your Indian brands. Indians are very good at it. We have some great Indian brands, Taj being one. And who are, respected across the world. And Indians, should not be shy of this, that I am anyway inferior. IndiGo is an Indian brand.
Right.
So these are great brands which have been made, and the world is looking at them with awe and respect. So I think when Prime Minister says Atmanirbhar, how we are seeing is few examples I've given. I think they are great opportunities for the country to become self-reliant, do a lot of things where we can not only manufacture, we can do services in India, we can say foreign exchange for India, and we can get experts to come from other countries to India. Why plane should not come from other countries?
Right. I'm sure IndiGo is doing work in this direction, but do you think the entire industry is looking towards this?
So specifically for the aircraft industry, there are some limited caveats whether what you can do, what you cannot do. But I'm sure industry is very keen to do. And government has land because most of the MRO work is done next to the airports. So the new airports you're talking about, whether it is Zevar Airport outside of Delhi, or it is the new Mumbai Airport, or Bangalore, or Hyderabad, or Calcutta, you can give space and maintain the aircraft. Opportunities are there. I think has to be a little faster and collaborative. And I feel good as an Indian because I think the speed needs to pick up. I think bureaucracy has to look at it a bit, more in a collaborative way rather than you versus me. But I think it's happening. It will happen. It will happen.
That's great. So you were just talking about the pilot trainings and all that. So, and also you said that the scope of expansion for the aviation industry is huge. Maybe thousands of aircrafts, which,
can be. Study which came 3 years back said we need 2,000 aircrafts.
Wow.
And today I've said 600. So you can imagine the gap.
Yeah. So in that case, what is your take on the quality of trainings in India? Apart from pilots, we have ground staff, we have cabin staff. So is the level of training in India is good enough?
I would like to believe that, training is something which is very personal for a company.
Yeah.
And also some trainings which are regulated by the government. So some of the trainings like pilots and crew, cabin crew, and other specialized sectors, engineering, they are regulated. So I will leave that aside.
All right.
Your question was more at the
non-technical. Yeah.
I think that is where, that's really the difference between an organization and another organization.
Right.
How much you focus on consistency training. And I believe focus has to be more and more.
Yeah.
For example, again, talking of IndiGo, we have a full IndiGo training school, where everybody goes through school and training. Other airlines also have that.
Right.
And I think training is the key.
Yeah.
Because they are your real ambassadors, because the people who are at the check-in in the aircraft, around the aircraft, are the people who come in contact with the passenger.
Right.
Training is so important. For example, if I was to give you a small example of how food is served on an IndiGo plane, you'll find the crew always serving in a certain style, where one arm is in a certain way, the second arm is in a certain way. Now, all those things which the beauty of the training is it gets noticed only when it is not proper. When it is proper, you take it as,
it's granted. It's taken for granted. Yeah.
Yeah, like I always say to many of my colleagues,
Yeah.
they say we don't get recognized. I said, then you're doing a great job, because try doing a bad job, you will know whether you're recognized or not.
Very
So
true.
likewise, I think we as a company, as a group, give immense focus.
All right.
I think that is the difference between good brands and not so good brands, because everything else is same. There is very little differentiator. And in service industry, there is nothing but people. What else is there? There is nothing.
Absolutely.
So there is, and what are people? People is how you present yourself in front of a passenger, in front of a customer. So I feel, for example, our company is immensely focused,
right,
and other companies are also focused. And for us, it is always how to get better from where we are, because customer feedback, how quickly they give, whether they give an honest feedback, and how do you improve on it. Right. And that is where it's very important to be, to be realist and to be humble, because humility teaches you new learnings. Absolutely. Because you're open to learning. Exactly. And I would like to believe that the great companies do that very well. Right. And we see in our everyday life, you buy something from a next door store and you have a complaint, and that guy says, I will have it picked up. I mean, that is awesome service. And, you say, wow. Yeah. And sometimes even the biggest brands don't even respond to your message. So, agree. Ultimately, I think training is the key. Right. Good companies are focused more and more. Mm-hmm. And I would like to believe that with more technology, digitization, innovation happening, the only difference would be the training and the quality of service you provide to the customer. Because only that will be the differentiator. Everything else will vanish in few years' time. Right.
There is a question that even if we have the more of aircraft we have, so for international flights, we always have between countries an agreement of exchange of seats, number of seats. So still we can see for the growth, are we okay with all the agreements what we have with the international airlines or the countries, or we have much more scope over there?
We have huge scope.
Right.
Huge scope, because as you know, the bilateral, as we call them, the bilateral agreement between two countries, they are done on the basis of the need of both countries. Right. Unfortunately for India, in the past, many of our bilateral rights have been given away to some international carriers. Right. Now, it's done a mismatch. Foreign countries or foreign airlines have more seats than Indian airlines have in their country. Absolutely. So there was such a big noise that when the new dispensation came in 2014, they said we will not sign bilateral with any country. We first want a parity. So parity means that there's a bilateral between two countries, A and B. Right. And the B country and both countries can fly 5 aircrafts a week. And A countries, for whatever reason, does not fly. Right. For whatever reason. And the B country is flying 5 aircrafts. What was happening, that B country would approach India and say, I've exhausted. India would say, okay, let's make it 8 and 8. All right. So it would become 5 to 8. They will fly 8, we'll still fly 0. 5 is all right. So now the bilateral to happen, we must utilize our right. Only when we fly 5 times will they get the 6th flight. Oh, okay. Otherwise, you will not get. In the new dispensation, you will not get. Right. So, in a way, the balance is coming in place. It will take a long time, because a lot of rights have been given away which cannot be taken back. Bilateral rights are like sovereign rights. Oh, okay. Yeah, they are for lifetime, forever. And cancelling that is like breaking a pact, like a big, huge pact. So there are serious repercussions. So we have suffered a lot in the past. And I would like to believe that it's getting corrected. And that is the way it should be. If you fly 5 times, I must fly 5 times. And if I cannot fly 5 times, that means there is no capacity. Then I should not give you the right to fly 5 times. Absolutely. So, there has to be a parity, but that work has been going on. It's a work in progress for the last 6 odd years.
Okay.
And I think it will get better.
That's great. Now, sir, in the last, I would request you to, because the industry is going to expand and explode in the next 5 years, as you said, it's going to be a huge development. So what do you have to say for the young generation who wants to join this service industries, whether it's aviation or hospitality, so and tourism, what do they have in them to be a successful person in this?
First, you have to be confident that you're joining an industry which is growing, and that it is.
G.
Second, you must have passion for it. If you don't have passion, don't go for it, because this industry take you places in life.
Right.
But the places will not happen automatically. Unfortunately, what has been happening in this particular sector is that this has not been a first choice career for people in the past many decades.
Right.
You know, we have always, all of us have come from a school where we say, let's do this. Agar kuch nahi hota to ye kar lete. So what I'm saying is, education is one part, but skilling and continuous learning is critical. And this industry is about dealing with people.
Right.
So you need both passion and compassion, empathy and learning ability. Youngster of today is in a hurry to reach places, and sometimes he tends to take shortcuts. And what I'm saying is, from somebody like me who has spent his life, that this is an energetic industry, industry of young people,
absolutely,
industry of color, industry of action. And you can do magic, because what is required of you, besides the knowledge, is your interpersonal skills and how well you handle. So I would say that if you have interest and if you have passion for that, this is an industry which will take you long way.
Right.
But always remember that you are in a people's industry. It's not an industry about ego. Also remember that this is an industry. This is a sector. It is not something which is, sorry to use the word, sexy, because business is business. But what happens when we get into hotels or we get into airlines, we start to behave as if we are something superior. Because you get that bit of a kicker that I'm in an airline, and you're getting phone calls for people asking for favors and hotels, and everybody needs something. Always remember, you are in a business, and business is about delivering. And airline is just like any other sector. It could be any sector. Don't get carried away with that euphoria. And people push you as if you are a superstar. You are not.
Yeah.
You
have to be grounded always.
You be grounded, work hard, continue your focus.
Right.
And this industry will take you places. And especially with the digitization and with the technology coming, human skills, the learning has to be the area of focus. Creativity,
absolutely,
flexibility. These are the things you have to always remember.
Right.
And also go beyond your work. No, don't be siloed.
Right.
Because that gives you that scope, the flexibility.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir, for your time. And
absolute pleasure. And enjoyed talking to you, Atul sir. And I wish everybody who's listening to the podcast the very best. And I hope many of you youngsters join the industry and keep it flying.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.